America is more in danger today than it was last week. That's an absolute fact. We can thank Joe Biden for that. His weakness and embarrassing inability to make the right decisions on nearly everything will now have far-reaching consequences. Yes, the rise of al-Qaeda and the Taliban is a main concern now. But this Afghanistan disaster has other very serious ramifications, too. Our enemies are looking at the collapse of Afghanistan and formulating, as we speak, plans to exploit it in every way they can. Joe Biden himself exposed himself as a feeble, inept leader who possesses no more of a threat than a fly at your barbecue. Our military's performance, thanks to Joe Biden, leaves me in fear that we could not win our next war with him as commander-in-chief. Make no mistake, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are taking away the same message. So what could happen now? That's the big question. Here's my prediction. China will make combative moves towards Taiwan, maybe even an invasion. China knows Joe Biden will do absolutely nothing about it. Look what Chinese state-run media just tweeted. This is a quote. From what happened in Afghanistan, those in Taiwan should perceive that once a war breaks out in the Straits, the island's defense will collapse in hours and U.S. military won't come to help. The global implications of that alone is frightening. And look at what China is doing in Afghanistan already. It's now in control of Afghan's largest copper mine. Enter Pakistan. It will escalate its threats against India, mark my words. Two nuclear powers in conflict with each other poses a geopolitical threat to all of us across the globe. As for Russia, it's already in Afghanistan right now, working to round up American military equipment. North Korea will start ramping up its quest for nukes. It will resume testing of intercontinental ballistic missiles, if not just for the sheer fun of mocking Joe Biden. This is all because of his decision in Afghanistan. And don't forget about Iran. American weakness is what that rogue nation longs for. Israel, brace yourselves. In just a few short days, Joe Biden has put the entire world in danger. And yet, knowing all of these threats, Joe Biden still somehow stands by his decision.
Lurching into the third decade of conflict, I stand squarely behind my decision.
That's because, quite frankly, you're an idiot, sir. We were there for 3 decades not to let all the things I just laid out happen. Now, I'm not even sure Joe Biden comprehends the decision he made. Why? Because he can't even get his story straight on why we were in Afghanistan in the first place, and neither can his own national security advisor.
President Biden was not prepared to have American men and women continue to fight and die in the civil war of another country. President Biden is laser focused on accomplishing the core national security objectives of the United States. And when it comes to Afghanistan, that was getting bin Laden and degrading al-Qaeda.
Well, wait a second. Which is it? A civil war or degrading al-Qaeda? We went in after September 11th to take out al-Qaeda. That's an absolute fact. We weren't there for their civil war. Do you see what he just did there? First, he said we're in Afghanistan fighting their civil war. That's a full of baloney story. And then in the next sentence, he admits we were there to degrade al-Qaeda. The problem is, they think we are all stupid, when the dopiness rests with them. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby knows there could be as many as 10,000 Americans stranded in Afghanistan right now with no way to get to the airport. They'll listen to him.
From a military perspective, John, our focus is at the airport, right? Security and stability at the airport so we can keep operations going.
If they can't get to the airport, what does it matter if you have the capabilities to get them out from the airport?
Yeah, John, I understand that. And we all understand that the security situation in Kabul is not ideal.
Not ideal? You can't get people to the airport. How are you going to get them out? That man needs to wake up. John Kirby, you do not deserve the rank of admiral. If we can't get Americans safely to the airport, then how are we going to get them on airplanes? All of this just proves how amateur this entire administration is. Most of them, by the way, Obama lackeys. So the same lackeys that thought it was a good idea back in 2014 to release prisoners from Guantanamo Bay prison. The now current leadership of the Taliban in Afghanistan, okay? Obama and Biden let them go, despite the Pentagon classifying them as too dangerous to release. You may remember them as the Taliban Five. 5 of the most dangerous terrorists on earth, freed by Obama and Biden in exchange for an American deserter named Bo Bergdahl. Who can forget this guy? And remember, the Obama, Biden, Clinton axis of corruption promised us these known terrorists would be, quote, no threat to America. Well, look at them now. One of them is now in the Afghani presidential palace. It's all part of the Biden history of bad and oh so dangerous decisions. He's literally been wrong on everything. The Iran nuclear deal, the open border policies here at home, COVID science he doesn't pay attention to, and don't forget, Joe Biden opposed the Osama bin Laden raid.
And we had to make a decision. The president, he went around the table with all the senior people, including the chiefs of staff. And he said, I have to make this decision. What is your opinion? Mr. President, my suggestion is don't go. We have to do 2 more things to see if he's there. He walked out and said, I'll give you my decision.
What a ding-dong. Thank God we didn't listen to him. Thank God Obama didn't listen to him. He hasn't made one right decision since he stepped foot in the White House. Don't forget he picked Kamala Harris, for crying out loud. How bad is that? And this decision to pull out of Afghanistan the way he did may just be the worst decision in presidential history because of its global implications. World chaos may now ensue because of this decision, as he begins, by the way, shipping radical jihadists from Afghanistan to a town near you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.